guys, John here with another exciting video. Today is actually the release date of the ROG Xbox Ally X. Whew, that's another name full to say. But I'm really excited about this. This is gonna be a unboxing, a setup, and then I'm gonna do some gameplay and comparisons with this. So let's dive into it. First, let's do the unboxing first.
All right, so starting out, we have the full box right here. It is a bit of a hefty box. Let's get it unboxed. All right, here is the whole box. I really like the holographic effects on both the Xbox and the Asus logo. All right, let's open this up. So inside the box, we have a little bit of a welcome guide right here. So there's actually going to be 2 different USB ports on this device, and here it is. Look at this. It smells brand new. Here we have the Xbox Ally X in all of its black glory. The sticks feel and buttons feel pretty good, almost reminiscent of an Xbox controller. And then let's take a look at the back. Got a little holographic strip right here. They got the back pedals, which I love back pedals. It's been a recent trend in controllers lately. And you got the triggers up here. And upon first holding this actually doesn't feel as heavy as I expected, honestly. Like, I think this is about just a tad bit more than my Steam Deck, but this is not too bad with someone like big hands like me. I really like the controller ergonomics of this. And then there's the 2 USB-C. One is 4.0. Then we have the micro SD card right here. Power button, volume. And then, yeah, let's see what else is in the box. In this box, we have all the manual stuff in case you need it. And then we have a charger just for the handheld itself now. This is the official ROG branded one. On the other side of the box, there's actually a little kind of like foam rubber holder. I'll be honest, like, it's not the greatest quality, but it will hold up the console if you really wanted to. And that's pretty much everything that comes in the box set itself. It's pretty simple. There's no dock included. There's no other peripherals or accessories. You can buy all those through third parties or through other means. But yeah, that's pretty much the box.
All right, now before I get into the setup, game comparison, and overall review, I do want to clarify, this is a confusing product for sure. This costs a whooping $1,000. There is a smaller tier model, the white one, that goes for about $600. That's a little bit more competitive. This boy is more directly competing with like the likes of the latest MSI Claws, the latest Legion Go 2s or whatever. These Windows handhelds are known to be way over $1,000 because it is a niche market. Basically, in summary, right? 1, this is not an Xbox, this is not a console. It's not fair to compare this to a Nintendo Switch or an Xbox. 2, it is competition for the Steam Deck, although it is in a completely other subcategory of its own. Like, this is a Windows handheld device. It should be compared to other Windows handheld devices out of the box. And while the Steam Deck is a good, cheaper option for people who want to tinker with handhelds, that is running their Steam OS. This is running Windows OS out of the box. And 3, right, like, this is for people who might be considering a gaming laptop but want to kind of venture into a Windows handheld instead, right? Like, say you already have a desktop or a console at home and you want to play your PC games specifically, right? I'm talking about Game Pass, Steam, Epic, maybe even like harder launchers to run compared to on the Steam Deck, such as Riot, Battle.net, GOG, right? All these other third-party applications that might be harder to run from a base Steam Deck. And then finally, I know there's been a ton of other tech videos on this. I am here though to have this video be kind of like a layman's introduction, and what you should do to set up your Xbox ROG Ally X is essentially setting up this device for the stuff that I want to test with. So I hope this is helpful. Let's get into it.
All right, let's set up this device. I have it plugged in because there was no power. I want to boot it up. There's the logo. Sounds just like my Asus Zephyrus laptop boot up sound. I like the glowing LED triggers right here. It is taking a long time because you're essentially setting up the equivalent of like a Windows laptop, right? Oh, here we go. There's the Windows sound. All right, I'm gonna go through this setup. And once you've connected to Wi-Fi, now you can finally do the update process. It's installing now. And then there's actually a little bit of a custom Windows installation because they actually have some stuff about Game Pass, about this device, about the full screen experience. So it's kind of cool that they have this on the loading screen. Once the initial updates are done, it'll ask you to sign to your Microsoft account. It's highly encouraged that you actually do this because this is how they tie the 3 months of free Xbox Game Pass Premium, not Ultimate, but it's Premium, to your account. And then if you already have Ultimate, I think it converts a little bit to whatever the amount is for your current subscription, so that's nice, but definitely make sure you sign in with a Microsoft account. All right, there is also a fingerprint reader, so if you would want to just sign in with your fingerprint right here, you can just do that and it'll just learn your fingerprint, so it's easier to sign in. All right, and when that's done, getting update ready screen, you hear the Windows boot up, and you will actually boot up to the new Windows full screen. This is kind of similar UI to like the Xbox, but yeah, you'll see right here in the corner, there is this device includes Game Pass Premium. Please redeem by basically 2 years from now. So yeah, I'm just gonna go ahead and redeem that to my account. I expected to get to this screen, so it actually did ask for like a payment method and signing in with your Microsoft account, but it's gonna just convert the code. So basically it'll just add whatever time the equivalent will be into the Ultimate, because I already have Game Pass Ultimate. So just make sure you do that, and just know that you can always go in and cancel your subscription after it's been converted. All right, so I would say one of the first things we should do is actually continue updates. So the initial update actually doesn't include everything. You have to remember, this is almost like setting up a laptop, right? So there are actually updates to Armory Crate that we should do. Basically, to get here, you click the Xbox button, you hit this little third icon next to the Steam one. It'll prompt you to start Armory Crate, install stuff in the Update Center. So right here, there's the Update Center. Always enable essential updates, and I would argue to just update everything here so that you get all the latest firmware for your device. Now, I wish this was built into the Windows update that we initially did, but this is actually separate, and they don't actually tell you to do this. I wish there was some sort of pop-up be like, hey, you should do this next, or like some kind of link to do it. But yeah, I'm just gonna go ahead and hit update all. I'm just gonna let it sit and run through everything. I kid you not, this is taking close to an hour because now it's installing all the BIOS, and it finally got through all the updates on the Armory Crate. So finally done with the Armory Crate update. Everything is as up to date as it could be as of the time of the recording of this video. So the second step is you should probably go to the home and see if there's anything else that you need to update in the notifications. As you can see, there's an update now. Update the Xbox app to the latest version. Okay, so I'm gonna go ahead and do that. It's gonna bring us to the Microsoft Store. You can also access this by just from the desktop mode, but I'm gonna go ahead and hit update all, check for updates and update all. You're gonna wanna update everything in here because it's a fresh new Windows build. After I checked for updates, there's about 39 updates to do. So even though, yes, some of this stuff is probably stuff I'll never touch, it's good to just have your Windows be up to date with everything, because it includes things like the Xbox app and some of like crucial Windows like processes and stuff. All the updates and downloads on this are done. It took maybe about another 20 minutes, but hey. Okay, I think one of the last things to do is to actually go into your Windows desktop here. And I kind of want to just bring up the Windows settings. Definitely the third thing to do here is to check your Windows update after going to the desktop. As you can see, even though we just installed Windows and we installed all the Armory Crate stuff, right, that's all separate, right? This is the same thing as if you were to set up a new laptop, it installs Windows, and then after you log in, there's more updates to be had. So definitely download and install all of this. Once you've done all three of those types of updates, you should be theoretically good to go. The only thing left to do really is to install any third-party apps that you want. So I'll be go ahead and starting up Steam. Probably gonna do our first game test on there. It's gonna update Steam first. You'll be opted into the Valve hardware survey. I always like doing these because I think it's good for Valve to do it. So I'm just gonna submit it. All right, and once you're in, you'll see your entire Steam library right here. And you can go ahead and just install any game of your choice. I'm gonna go ahead and pick Hades 2. I think this is a pretty good game to test out. I have the game loaded, and I do have the info bar up there from Armory Crate. For reference, I am plugged in, so I'm testing everything on 35-watt turbo mode. Oh, but there we go. It loaded up beautifully. Hades 2. All right, let's give it for a go. It looks like I found my save file just fine. I recently beat this game, so this is honestly really fun. I'm glad it's out of early access. And yeah, it looks to be running pretty smoothly. Let's get ourselves into a little battle, shall we? All right, and I mean, it's running at a pretty good 120 FPS on 1080p at 35 watt right now. Of course, you should be expecting something like that from a game like this anyways on this handheld, but it's great to know that this is performing pretty much out of the box as you would expect, just like a Steam Deck. All right, so I give kind of like the Steam installation and game updates pretty much like a solid 9 out of 10. I mean, it's exactly like what you would expect from a Windows computer or even just a Steam Deck itself, so that's pretty flawless. Okay, next up, obviously, this is Xbox branded, right? But also comes with the Xbox app installed. So I'm gonna go ahead and just test some of the Xbox features then. So I do have Ultimate. Luckily, I bought 3 years of the plan before they raised their prices. So if you go to your library here, it actually has Hades 2 installed because we installed it from Steam. There's an auto detection here, which is extremely nice for a handheld device like this. But there's also filters for games that you own, which is all the stuff that I have probably through Windows, PC, Microsoft Store. And then there's also the Game Pass section, which has all the Game Pass eligible games that I can install through the subscription. So I'm gonna go ahead and pick something to install. I'm gonna go ahead and install Doom: The Dark Ages. It's a recent AAA title from the series. We can run some benchmarks on it. So let's go ahead and install this and see how easy it is. All right, it's definitely a big game to download. It's about 80 gigs. So we're here on the main menu after about a minute or two. And yeah, let's go ahead and actually run the built-in benchmarks. I'll just do the first one. This game does have ray tracing on, even just a little bit. It's looking like we're keeping slightly above 60 FPS. Definitely once you get into like the little bit of a bigger room with more effects, it's dipping slightly into the 59 and 58 FPSs. All right, test summary. Overall average, about 60. But I mean, at 1080p, that is pretty good, I would say, for being plugged in. I mean, again, right, like this is being played on a Windows handheld. The fact that you can play a AAA game, recent release, through Game Pass and have pretty decent performance, definitely playable, and you can even tone down the settings too to have more performance. I think this is a win for sure. So I definitely give the Xbox game downloading onto the device portion of this test a solid 10 out of 10. I mean, it's pretty much flawless. Just find the game you want, hit install, and play. And yeah, it's no hassle at all. All right, while I'm still in the Xbox app, there's actually 2 more things I want to test. First is actually cloud gaming. Now, hopefully you're not just getting this device just to play cloud gaming, but let's test out cloud gaming. All right, I went ahead and picked Baldur's Gate 3. I figured that'd be an interesting game to show streaming because it is a demanding game even on handhelds. It struggles on my Steam Deck for sure. We have loaded in. All right. In the game, there's the controller options, the video. Obviously, because this is a Xbox cloud stream, this is actually running, I believe, the Xbox Series X portion of it. But as you can see, it is running fine. It's capped at 30 FPS right now. You can move around just fine. The controls feel fine. And because this is a turn-based game, like playing through the cloud, like the latency is not a huge deal to me. Obviously, this will hugely depend on your internet connection. Having a good internet connection is a huge deal for streaming via the cloud. But yeah, I mean, so far everything works out of the box, and loaded my save file, and I can press all these buttons and move around just fine. So I would rate this a solid like 9 out of 10 for the Xbox cloud streaming. It does about as well as like any other cloud service, honestly, and it is a bit of a wait to boot up and load. This is as good of a cloud streaming as is on any other device. Kind of the third thing I want to test while I'm still in the Xbox app. If you go to your profile and you scroll down to this Where I Play section, if you own an Xbox, you can actually hit this and do remote play. On the browser, just go to xbox.com/remote play, and it should find your console, and then you're able to do it through the browser as well. And what this is going to do is actually going to connect to your Xbox. So let me switch my camera real quick. So over there, I have my Xbox turned on, and it's currently on my TV, and I'm all kind of on my home menu with all the games that I've pinned to it. And here it is on my handheld device right here. So I'm actually controlling it right now. I can stream everything from it. So one of the plus sides of this is that, you know, you're able to stream the games that you own and not through Game Pass, especially if you want to stream something that's not on Game Pass, right? Let's take, for example, Battlefield 6, recently released game. All right, here's the main menu of Battlefield 6. Let's get ourselves into a match. All right, and we're in the game, and yeah, I'm looking at my TV screen right now and looking at this game, and yeah, it's literally almost lag-free. It's literally very similar to what I'm seeing on the TV. It's responsive. I can slug dive. I would say this actually feels really good, especially if you're in the same household, playing off the same Wi-Fi. Obviously, if you're out and about, right, like this will heavily depend on your internet connection on the receiving side. But I would say like this is definitely a very playable, and if you were to tell me I can play like a recent AAA game like this is actually pretty insane. Now, of course, there's some situations where I think this might be helpful, right? Like say like someone is using your TV, but you still want to play, right? You don't mind keeping your Xbox on. This allows you to essentially play on a different room, an area using this handheld device. You're doing this because it's an interesting feature to tackle onto. And because you own an Xbox, this is probably the closest thing to the Xbox is being able to actually play your Xbox, right? But this is not unique, right? Like other handheld devices can do this, other Windows devices, and even your phone can do this too if you have a Bluetooth controller. So this is kind of more just like a neat feature to do, icing on the cake type of deal. But yeah, I would actually give this a solid like 9.5 out of 10. This worked pretty much flawlessly. Okay, so that was all my Xbox app testing. Now I kind of want to call attention to the other things that you can do, right? Outside the Xbox app, if you go into Armory Crate, you can actually go ahead and install other things, right? That we showed that we had Steam off the bat, but you can also install the EA app, Epic Games, Ubisoft Connect, GOG, Battle.net. So it's kind of nice that it has all of these platforms right here. It doesn't have every platform, but it's kind of nice, handy shortcuts for you to be able to install. So I want to test that right now. Let's go ahead and test our Epic Games installation, which is really just opening the browser and downloading the latest Epic Games. Had to manually click flu to install it, so I wouldn't say it's like completely seamless, but I mean it's essentially installing it just like you would on a PC. Here we are downloading the update for Epic Games, and it's gonna take a little bit. We are in the Epic Store. Now I won't say that was a flawless sign in. I actually had to open a browser, sign in through my Google, type my password a few times, do my authenticator. It's actually not as seamless doing it on a handheld device as it is on a PC, but we are in. So now I can go ahead and kind of like go ahead and decide what to install. I went ahead and just picked the probably obvious game of choice. I'm gonna install Fortnite on here. It's gonna take about 140 something gigs, but I figured that'd be the best game to show off. All right, and we finally have Fortnite up and running. Of course, this is a popular game that's not on the Steam store or any other storefronts, so being able to run this is kind of like one of the huge reasons. And we have loaded into the game. It's detected the controller just fine, and it's working flawlessly. The settings, right? I'm playing windowed full screen, 1080p, VSync off, frame rate limit to 60 FPS. Although we could probably let's try to see if we can hit 120. And then it is on performance mode right now. Immediately off the bat, it's actually holding above 100 FPS on performance mode in 1080p. So this is pretty good so far, I would say. I've never played Fortnite on anything that's not a PC or a console, so to have this on like a Windows handheld device, you know, I know to get this working on Steam, you have to go through a lot more stuff. So it's great to see that Epic Games is working out of the box just fine. I think I give this like an 8 out of 10 for the Epic Games. You do have to kind of go through an awkward sign-in process, and sometimes the controller doesn't work for some reason, so you have to use the touch screen. Hop into the game is not as seamless compared to like the Steam or Xbox. So what if I don't want to just be limited to the things I have in Armory Crate, right? Like obviously this is Windows and I can go ahead and install anything I want on a Windows device. So I want to go ahead and try to install a Riot game. All right, and through Microsoft Edge, we have downloaded the Riot client, and I'm planning to try out 2XKO because they've just entered their early access. And of course, this is going to install Vanguard, which is their anti-cheat system for this game. A huge reason why you can't play this on the Steam Deck or any other non-Windows handheld device. I'm really excited to see how well this will work and how well it will play. All right, I rebooted and wow, immediately clicked on the 2XKO on the desktop and it booted into the game. All right, let me double check our settings right here. We're on windowed full screen. Let's do the FPS max to 120 and let's keep everything else on high. I will say I feel like the bumpers are kind of inversed right now. I don't know why. It's like right bumper is to scroll the other way. Maybe that's a game thing. So I'm in the controls menu and it looks like it is detecting the stick as well as my D-pad. And then it has a slightly different layout for controller than I'm used to. All right, I think I detected the attacks now. All right. So far, it's maintaining a 60 FPS. There's a little bit of spikes sometimes, but for the most part, this is definitely playable. Yeah, I'm sure you could turn down some of the settings, probably turn it from high to low, turn off some shaders or have lower texture quality. But I mean, it definitely plays just fine, and I'm happy playing with this on the go. This is not the most competitive way to play, I'll say. I think I'll definitely still be playing this on an actual PC or console with a fight pad, but I'm glad to have this be an option. So I would say for playing Riot games, like something like 2XKO, I'm interested to see if like TFT or League would run. I don't think they would run as well on this setup, but it's good to know that the Riot client does work on here. I probably give this like a 7.5 out of 10. Just have to make sure to install the Riot client, log in, and then download and tinker around with the settings for a bit, but it's definitely playable for sure. I want to try something a little fun, so since I have a PlayStation 5 over there, I'm actually going to download the PS Remote Play app. Now I expect this to work for the Windows PC, just like how we can get this to work for the Steam Deck. Just gotta install the official application from their website, download it, and turn on your PS5, and let's see if we can get this working. It did air out a little bit. I was complaining about no internet for some reason, so I had to disconnect from the Wi-Fi, connect to it again, but it works. Let me try to sign in, and let's get into Remote Play. Okay, I don't know what's going on, but yeah, the PS Remote Play app is just constantly refusing to just like even stay signed in or even load sometimes. I know it's definitely not my internet. I know the PS network's not down because I've checked, but luckily there's another option that I'm gonna explore. There is another option called PX Play. It used to be called PS Play. I believe this is by a third-party developer, and I know there's a subreddit for this. I've heard that this is actually good, but unfortunately I don't have the license for it. You have to buy it in order to set it up. But let me do the Windows demo real quick. And luckily the demo version comes with 5 minutes, so let's go ahead and test it. Now I'm gonna register my new PlayStation 5 on here. I couldn't really get the third-party one to work, and the official one still isn't working, but I have heard that even if you get this working, it requires a PlayStation 5 controller anyways. Like, I don't think it's gonna natively work with the controller of this. So unless you have one on hand, right, I think setting up PS Remote Play is a huge hassle, and the fact that it didn't work even after a reboot, different Wi-Fi, I even tried my mobile hotspot and a restart, nothing worked. So I'm gonna have to give this a 2 out of 10 for ease of use. Of course, you're not meant to really do this, right? Like, of course it's a Windows laptop and you should be able to PS Remote Play, but to expect it to work natively with these controls, especially with, you know, the different control scheme, it's a little bit more of something for a tinkerer. Definitely would not recommend the average person do this, or expect this to be like a PS Portal replacement. Kind of the last type of interesting game I want to try is actually browser games, right? There's still a lot of games that are locked into the browser, and you can't necessarily play this on consoles really. You can definitely play it on like something like a Steam Deck, and I expect to play it on Windows handheld. So I have PokeRogue up. This is kind of like if Pokemon went a roguelike direction. I know some of my friends are playing this. So immediately off the bat, oh, it actually recognizes our A button. And it recognizes our D-pad. That's actually really surprising. Yeah, I'll do a new game. All right, I'm gonna hit begin, save file. Now, I don't know if there's a way to actually get rid of these controls on the screen. It's kind of annoying to see them on there, but it actually did detect our controller, and I'm actually playing it, but it actually functions, so a little bit surprised. This is an example of a browser game that detects if you have like a controller input, so glad to see that this is working. I'll give this like a 7 out of 10. It's functional, it's playable, it might not be optimal, but it's definitely interesting to see it work like this.
So that was all my initial testing and playing around with it on day one of owning this device. I'm gonna give an honest review as an avid gamer myself. I own the Xbox, the PS5, Nintendo Switch, Switch 2, as well as my own gaming PCs and gaming laptops. Let's compare this to the other handhelds we have.
Here we have the ROG Xbox Ally X, right? And right here I actually have my original Steam Deck LCD. It does have the D brand kill switch skin on, so do note that. I don't have anything on the ROG Xbox Ally X yet, but even with the skin on, it's about roughly what you would expect. I would say they're about almost equal weight. There's a little bit more, tinier bit of heft from the ROG Xbox Ally X, but I mean, they're both very similar to me. Look at the screen size. It's actually, let me turn this on. It's actually almost the same size, I would say. There's definitely larger bezels on the original LCD model, but it's roughly the same size-ish, except this is more of a 16:9 ratio. This can do 16:10. These are both gonna be for 720p gaming. And then let's add another one into the mix. All right, here we go. We're gonna add in the Nintendo Switch 2. This also has the D-brand Kill Switch case on it as well. But now we have all three side by side. And I think looking at this just from my angle right here, I definitely think, since none of these are OLED, right? Like, I can't really say I really like any of the three screens. I will say, I think like the Steam Deck and the ROG Xbox Ally X have pretty similar screen sizes and stuff. Nintendo Switch 2 has a bigger screen than both, actually. It has about equal bezels like the Steam Deck LCD. So I would say like this is probably the best comparison you're gonna get. I do think there's a little bit more height to the ROG Xbox Ally X because of the contoured controller grids behind here. Even with the Kill Switch skins, right? Like this doesn't match the height that this is giving off. And obviously with the Nintendo Switch with the skins on, that still isn't taller than it. So this has a bit of a vertical height to it, but that's to be expected.
Okay, so coming down to my final thoughts, first day experience with the device. And it's definitely a confusing yet exciting one at that. So I'm gonna start out with the pros. I do think that this has it going for it, even over the previous iterations that ROG Ally has put out, even over like things like the Steam Deck and the Nintendo Switch. It's definitely ergonomics, okay? Like this is a very comfortable device to hold with the contoured controllers with the Xbox-like design. This definitely is not as good as the Steam Deck without this Kill Switch case on it, right? Like I really hated holding my hands on this. And the same with the Nintendo Switch 2, even though it is better than Nintendo Switch 1, I do think you still need like a secondary case like the Kill Switch for it. Not sponsored, by the way, by D-Brand. I just love their Kill Switch cases, and I've done videos on them in the past. Okay, and then the second pro I will give to this device is that it comes with Windows, quote unquote, out of the box, okay? I would say it's definitely easier to set up than having to boot up Steam Deck and dual boot and go through some very technical guides on it, right? And then obviously, like the Switch can't run any other OSs unless you get into the jailbreaking scene, which you'll probably be waiting for a while for, right? Any normal person can go through setup. It's just similar to like a Windows laptop or desktop setup of it with some added customization specifically for the device itself. All right, and then the third pro, as expensive as this device is, right? Like again, $1,000. This is a competitive price point for Windows handheld devices, right? Like again, this is not competing against the Steam Deck or Steam Deck OLED, even though it's the similar PC handheld console, right? It's more fair to compare this to Windows handheld consoles. And because of that, right, this is getting official Microsoft and Xbox support for Windows full screen, right, for integration to make it more of a useful system in handheld mode. So this has all the official support that comes with it, all the drivers as well. Now I'm gonna go into my cons about this device. So first of all, the branding is very misleading, to say the least, right? Like, to say that this is an Xbox and that anything is an Xbox console, I think will only further confuse people. At the surface level, this is no different than any other Xbox collaboration with hardware in the past. So, for example, all right, this is the Meta Quest 3S Xbox Edition. And guess what's Xbox about it? It's just the branding. It has the logo on the side. It comes with green MetaQuest controllers, and it also came with an Xbox controller that was themed similarly. This is not exactly a console either. This is just a MetaQuest that's themed in collaboration with Xbox. Like, the closest thing you can say to this is that it came with an Xbox controller and that you can play Xbox games via the cloud. Now, to give the ROG Xbox Ally X some credit, this is way closer to kind of an Xbox, right? Being able to run PC Game Pass, right? It does allow you to actually install those games onto the device and play it. as well in addition to Xbox Cloud streaming and streaming from your own Xbox console. But the latter two are not unique to this device. You can do it on other devices as well. It's a simplified version of Windows. You don't have to go into desktop mode if you don't want to, right? And it does run games better. This is already during a very contentious time period where a lot of fans are starting to hate Microsoft because of the increases in Game Pass Ultimate, as well as questionable game decisions surrounding their game studios, right? It's not a good look for Microsoft, to be honest, and having this further complicates their product lineup. All right, and then number two, this thing is definitely expensive. All right, like I said before, this thing is $1,000. The only reason I have this device is because, one, I am a Game Pass Ultimate subscriber who has an Xbox. I am interested in getting a Windows handheld device, right? Because I'm not quite satisfied with my Steam Deck LCD, even though it's held up great over the last 3 years, right? It's starting to definitely show its age, and I don't want to go through the effort to dual boot this device. This is not going to appeal to the mass audiences, right? Like hearing $1,000, you're better off buying a gaming laptop, right? You're better off putting that money towards a gaming PC, or even like you could even buy like 2 Nintendo Switch 2s, right? And just game with you and your significant other or friends. This is definitely a huge investment into a niche market. And finally, my third negative point about this is you are kind of being a beta tester for Windows 11 full screen experience. I am happy, right, that Microsoft and Xbox are making efforts to simplify Windows to create this cut down OS that is only targeted for gaming. That is great. That is progress. Do know that everything you're doing and buying into this device, right, this is definitely a product in design. And ideally, whatever they make out of this in the next 1 or 2 years, they will put all that effort towards future Windows handheld devices, as well as potentially even Windows 12 when that OS releases. When you're buying into this, you're supporting kind of like second-ish gen devices, right? This is not the first Windows handheld. There are other Windows handhelds that come before this, even from Asus ROG themselves. And yeah, that's kind of been my overall thoughts about the ROG Xbox Ally X. I could easily pass a Nintendo Switch 2 to someone who's very young or someone who's very old, and they could probably figure their way around it, right? Steam Deck, ooh, a little more difficult, but as long as they stick to like the classic SteamOS experience, it is very console-like. Steam Big Picture, I would say, is pretty good, right? And they don't need to go into the desktop mode if they don't want to. But then for this device, I don't think I would hand this over to like someone who's not very technical, someone who's just a very casual gamer. This basically requires the same patience and knowledge to set up a new Windows laptop, and you have to know to do all those updates that I showed in the beginning of the vlog. I feel like once you start going to third-party launchers and then exclusive Windows stuff that you want to try to do, I think that gets a little bit harder, especially with this form factor. And you know, it's a very unknown territory right now. That's why I did some of the stuff that I wanted to try on it. But all that to say, I think currently I would give this device a solid 7.5 out of 10 overall experience. I think this has a promising future, right? Like I expect to use this well into like the next 2, 3, maybe even 4 years, just as I would with like a gaming laptop, right? Like there is definitely a lot of potential in this device, being able to play all those games that I showed. It's definitely way more convenient to play those games than having to tinker around with it through SteamOS and through compatibility layers and stuff. And with better performance too, right? This is the next gen chip on it. I just think the price is definitely a bit too high to be able to attract other consumers. It's definitely a confusing product name. I am satisfied with my purchase, and I hope that Microsoft, Xbox continue to expand, be able to make more games, play better with this, maybe through graphics updates and through general UI updates. I hope this has been helpful to you guys who have been thinking about buying your own ROG Xbox Ally X. Yeah, if you would like to see more videos with this, as I've said, I'm planning to do like a kill switch case review for this device. I'm planning to get some screen protectors for this as well. Please like, comment, and subscribe. I might run more benchmarks. Let me know what you guys want to see with this while I have it. And until then, I'll see you guys in the next one.